President of the faculty.
Thank you. On behalf of the faculty, I'd like to congratulate all of the graduates today. I think the faculty, better than anyone else, knows how hard you've worked to get to this point. We hope that you won't forget Wright State in your careers. We hope that you'll come back, take more courses from us, and continue your lifelong educational process. We also hope that you won't forget Wright State University as an institution, and that you'll follow our athletic activities, that you will remember us generously when you get letters from the Alumni Association. And finally, once again, on behalf of the faculty, congratulations. At this time, I'd like to introduce Mr. Clark Denman, Chair of the Student Government.
Distinguished members of the Platform Party, graduates, parents, and all others here today to celebrate this commencement, I'm here to address you today as a representative of the student community of the university. I'd like to thank the parents and spouses of the graduates for their encouragement, sacrifice, and invaluable support, which has manifested itself in the accomplishment of these individuals. There is more to the college experience than attending lectures, studying, and taking examinations. The support system you've provided deserves the highest praise, as you created the environment for achievement. Your contribution is recognized by those whom you assisted and will be repaid through their continuance of this dedication to excellence. The buildings, financial transactions, and academics do not add up to the total of a college education. The hardest thing to measure is the human contribution that a student can make to a university. This is what I want to thank you all for today. The collective force of your personalities is indelibly etched upon this university. Your involvement in the function of the institution is irreplaceable. In the recipe of higher education, we are the main ingredient. And my hope is that you will carry with you this devotion to the human factor. I'd like to take this opportunity to wish you future success and happiness. I hope that your efforts here at Wright State will carry you far in your chosen profession. At this time in your life, there should be no obstacles to your ambitions. The only limits before you are those you place yourself. As you have met the challenges of higher education, so must you tackle any obstacle which may stand in the way towards success. This is a day of celebration, and when you do celebrate, don't drive. I wish you the best of luck and your God's blessing. And now it's my pleasure, as the Chair of Student Government, to present the August and December graduates to Mr. James Dock, Director of Alumni Affairs and producer of the Commencement video, who will greet the candidates and present this year's Outstanding Alumni Achievement Award.
I'm not sure I want to come up here. So far you haven't graduated yet, and I've hit you for $49.95 and asked you to give generously. Thanks, Clark. For those of you who know Clark very well, I know there is a burning question on your mind this morning, and that is Clark wearing socks? Yes. Yes, he is. I've been asked by the Board of Directors of the Alumni Association to represent them this morning on this special occasion especially for you. It is also for the Alumni Association, obviously, and it is for me personally. First, my wife is getting her master's degree today, and I'm especially proud of that. My assistant in Alumni Affairs, Roxanne Edwards, is getting her degree today, and all of us are especially proud of her. As President Mulholland will introduce in just a moment, the speaker today is the first recipient of the Outstanding Alumni Achievement Award. And I believe, and I think President Mulholland can confirm this, that he is also the first alumnus who has been asked to speak before you or at a commencement. Also, the association, now this is a freebie, so listen closely. The association has asked me to announce to you, graduates, that each of you will receive in the mail a one-year free membership in the Alumni Association. You'll get that in the mail shortly, and the Alumni Association will work very, very hard to keep you informed about your university and hopefully to keep you involved with your university as you go about your careers. And we're very proud of that accomplishment, and we hope that we can serve you well. And finally, and most importantly, I am here to present the 1986 Outstanding Alumni Achievement Award. Let me please read from the certificate because I think it best depicts and displays the kind of person that I'm about to introduce. In recognition of outstanding achievement in nursing, she has distinguished herself through her expertise. I'll go ahead. She has distinguished herself through her expertise and commitment to her profession. She has extended her leadership and educational skills to promote national legislation in the field of health care for the terminally ill. Furthermore, her high personal standards of integrity and character have earned her the esteem and respect of her colleagues and associates, thereby enhancing the prestige of Wright State University. Our recipient is presently the Executive Director of Hospice of Dayton. Also, the chairperson of the National Hospice Organization Standards and Accreditation Committee, and has, as the certificate indicates, been instrumental in national legislation. The Omnibus Reconciliation Act, which I want to read so I get it correct. This legislation provided for making permanent the Medicare hospice benefits for elderly and disabled Americans. The Medicaid provision also allows all 50 states to provide hospice care to the medically indigent, as well as providing new rates of reimbursement for the care of the terminally ill. Another act which she lobbied for was the National Reimbursement Act, part of the National Hospice Education Project. She is the past president of Ohio Hospice Organization, in fact, the founder of the Ohio Hospice Organization, and in fact, the first employee of Hospice of Dayton. She was voted one of the top 10 women in Dayton. She has been on the Alumni Association's Board of Directors for the last 6 years. She was in the very first graduating nursing class here in 1975 here at Wright State, has her master's degree from Ohio State University. Ladies and gentlemen, the 1986 Outstanding Alumni Achievement Award winner, Betty Schmall. If you don't want to hold it, I'll take it back. And you can bring this back.
Just as this is a very special occasion for all of you, it's a very special occasion for me. Special because the Board of Trustees of the Alumni Association of my university have selected me for this honor. As one of the first in the 1975 nursing class at Wright State University, this is very important both to me and to our School of Nursing. It symbolizes for all of us the kind of preparation I received here in the undergraduate program that prepared me for the challenges of both graduate school and clinical practice. It's also very special to me because I'm being recognized for doing something that's been exciting, challenging, and very close to my heart, working with hospice. In 1978, We set out to provide care to the terminally ill. Our goal then was to change the healthcare system in America to make it more responsive to and supportive of a very vulnerable group of our population, the dying. We're succeeding. In the last 8 years, as Jim mentioned, we've been able to get Medicare reimbursement for hospice care, private sector reimbursement, and now we're working very hard on Medicaid. We've seen hospice programs spread across the state of Ohio and across this country of ours. We also have seen changes and development in standards and quality of care. As I say, we're succeeding. I've been very fortunate to be able to be a part of the group that's helped to make this happen, and because of that, to receive this honor today. It's with gratitude and humility and deep thankfulness I accept this award today. Thank you very much.
The word most often associated with today's commencement speaker, as I look through his background, has to be the word outstanding. In 1969, he sat where you sit today, second in his graduating class and first in the graduating class of the College of Business and Administration. He received that day, in addition to a Bachelor of Science degree, an award as the Outstanding Business Senior and an award as the Outstanding Accountancy Senior. In 1983, the JCs named him one of their Outstanding Young Men of America. The same year, Wright State University awarded him its first Outstanding Alumni Award. And not a lot of creativity and language among those who are achieving at a high level. David Guttridge left Wright State and joined Ernst & Whinney immediately thereafter. During his association with that international public accounting firm, Mr. Guttridge continued his education and earned a Master of Business Administration in 1971. 10 years ago, David Guttridge joined the DACO Corporation, where he continued to excel. Beginning as Assistant Comptroller in 1976, he was promoted to Treasurer in 1978, to Vice President and Treasurer a year later, to Senior Vice President and Chief Financial Officer in 1982. Today, Mr. Guttridge serves as Executive Vice President and Chief Financial Officer at DACO, where he was recently elected a member of its Board of Directors. In his present position at this large Fortune 500 company, Mr. Guttridge is responsible for the operations of 3 divisions with worldwide sales of approximately $300 million. As well as for the total administrative functions of Treasury, accounting, taxes, planning, internal audit, employee benefits, and management information services. Mr. Guttridge is a member of the board of Good Samaritan Hospital and the Wright State University Foundation. We are proud to welcome for the first time as a commencement speaker at Wright State a graduate of Wright State University, and I can think of no one who better symbolizes the kind of success that the university hopes for all of you than our speaker this morning, Mr. David Guttridge.
Thank you. That was quite an introduction. I wish my folks could have heard it. I know my dad would have enjoyed it, and I think my mother actually would have believed it. But today, what I want to talk about is success. You want it. I think you want it. You want it. Everybody wants it, including me. To be happy in life, we all need to have some measure of success. But because we're individuals, success is going to mean something different to each one of us. Now, I really haven't traveled far enough or lived long enough to be an expert on what it takes to be successful. But in the 17 years since I sat where you are, I've had the opportunity to observe a lot of successful people. And they all seem to have a set of fairly common characteristics. And you might be able to put these together in kind of a formula for success. And today what I'd like to do is suggest just a few of the ingredients in that formula. I think the first thing that we have in a formula is definition. You need to define what success means to you. There's a saying that if you don't know where you're going, any road will get you there. And to kind of an illustration of that, I think I have a 35-year-old friend who's a professional musician. And over the years, we've talked a lot about what we wanted to do with our lives, and I often encouraged him. I said, you ought to make some plans, set some goals. Well, he never did until about a year ago, and I saw him a few weeks ago, and I said, how's it going? He says, you know, I got to tell you, all those years you told me to make plans and that sort of thing, he said, I thought you were just full of beans. But last year when I made those plans, I started following them, and you know what? It's working. I'm getting somewhere. I'm accomplishing things. And the best thing about it is I feel good. And I think he had just discovered that good feeling that we all get when we achieve something. Whether it's something as mundane as standing back and looking at the driveway where you've just finished shoveling the snow, or something a little more esoteric like putting that final footnote on a scientific article, or climbing to the top of the corporate ladder, whatever it is, you get that good feeling of achieving something. And it's one that we all need to experience from time to time in our lives. I think you're all experiencing that feeling today. Some time ago, you defined success as achieving the necessary credits to obtain that degree that you're going to receive in a few minutes. And I'll make sure it's just a few minutes. That achievement came from following a very structured path. I think from now on, you're going to be following a less and less structured path. That doesn't mean, though, that you shouldn't really set a plan and figure out how you're going to get there along that plan. Now, that doesn't mean that you're going to lay out your whole life for the next 15 years and it's set in stone. Far from it. You'll change your path a lot of times, but it's important that you have defined where it is you want to go and how you're going to get there. I think my comment about changing direction often is really going to lead into my next factor in this formula for success. And I think that's flexibility. Successful people are flexible. Now, by that I mean that if you're flexible, you're able to see the other guy's point of view. You're able to accept criticism. And it means being able to adapt to new situations and changing environments. Now, it doesn't mean bending your principles. That's important. I think a good example of flexibility is a story about there were 3 food stores standing side by side on this one block. One day, the owner of the store at one end of this block puts up a sign that says, "Sale, lowest prices in town." The guy at the other end decided he would combat that, and he put up his own sign and it said, "Rock bottom prices." Well, the guy in the middle is getting kind of frustrated, not knowing what to do, until he came up with his own sign. He just put up one that said, "Main entrance." Here's an example, I think, where flexibility turned a disadvantage into an advantage. And flexibility is a must. You'll see examples of this every day. You see, the engineer that doesn't learn the new CAD/CAM techniques isn't going to be successful. I think art and color designers who don't learn what people want in their home decorating aren't going to be successful. And professors, if you don't teach the latest in your field, you're not going to be successful. And in my book, I think anybody who doesn't try to see the other guy's point of view isn't going to be successful. And that really brings me to my third ingredient in this formula for success, and that's communication. This is really obvious for those of you in the arts, where communication, in one form or another, is actually the essence of your work, but it's also the key to success in any other field. Now, being a good communicator is more than just knowing how to use the English language properly, although there are plenty of us that find even that difficult from time to time. It's also knowing which words to use and when to use them. I know in my business, I've seen people come in with rather modest expense budgets, which are turned down flatly While other people come in with really lavish expense budgets and they sail right by because these expenses were going to enhance sales. Sometimes the best communication is the least communication. The American historian Will Durant liked to say it like this. He says, "Nothing is often a good thing to say and always a clever thing to say." It sounds easy, but good communication is not easy. How else do you account for the story that a friend of mine told me? He said it was about a man who made $1 million in oil. He said the story would have been pretty accurate, except that it wasn't really oil, it was gas. And it wasn't the man, it was his brother. Oh, it wasn't $1 million either, it was just 100,000. And it turned out that he actually lost money instead of making it. I've seen a lot of good ideas fail just for the lack of good communication. You can be an architect that designs the best possible building for your client. But if you can't make your client see that it's the best, it's never going to make it off the drawing board. And you'll see good products that die with one company will flourish with another just because they can communicate to the customer and make them see the value of their product. Every day you're going to be having communications with others, either orally or in writing, and from that they're going to be making impressions of and perhaps decisions about the future of you. Don't be a good idea that fails for lack of good communication. The next ingredient in my formula for success is understanding. And the first thing we have to understand is that we always have a lot more to learn. I think another aspect of this ingredient is understanding all you know about something. What I'm getting at here, I think, I can illustrate with an example from my own past. I started out here as a math major, and I did really well in math, got great grades. One day I'm sitting there, I'm doing my homework, and I suddenly realize that although I am doing this perfectly properly, I have no idea what I'm doing. The worst thing about it is that I said, I don't think I'm ever going to understand this. So I got into business. I think another story I like that kind of illustrates the point is about the high school class that visited an elderly painter in his studio. And he had just finished a painting and it was hanging over there on the wall drying. And the student said, "Say, how long did it take you to make that painting?" And he says, "Well, actually it took about 2 hours to put the paints on, but it took me 40 years to learn how." Now here's a man that really understood all he knew about his art. Now, others might want to call this ingredient experience. And I think experience definitely enhances understanding, but the true essence of being successful, I think, is the understanding itself. This is why some people will obtain 5 years of experience in only 1 year, and others won't even obtain 1 year of experience in 5 years. I think that understanding is also, perhaps this is the best way for me to describe it, understanding is what makes a person with a chemistry degree into a chemist, or a person with a music degree into a musician. The next to the last ingredient is self-confidence. Now, I don't mean cockiness, but true self-confidence. I think the difference can be illustrated about the story of the owner's son going to work in his father's business. And he thought he knew everything there was to know about the business. So before long, he's running around telling everybody what to do and how to do it, and just frustrating the heck out of everybody else. Finally, one of the more senior people at the firm, who had a fairly responsible position, decided to pull the young man aside. He says, "Look, son, you're just going to have to show a little more patience with us. After all, we're not young enough to know everything." I think in this example, obviously, the young man is being cocky, but the more senior person is exhibiting a great deal of self-confidence and having the temerity to speak to the owner's son that way. And what I'm getting at here, I guess, is that the old saying that if you don't believe in yourself, no one else will is quite true. And it's also true that if you do believe in yourself, it's surprising how many others will too. And one way to be self-confident is to know that you've done what it takes to do the job that's expected of you. Don't try to just get by. Give more than is expected and be sure you've got it nailed. And I think if success is important to you, this is a pretty easy thing to do. And that really brings me to the last ingredient in my formula, and that's just plain old hard work. You just don't see too many 9-to-5ers becoming the company president or winning a Pulitzer Prize or developing a cure for the common cold or winning Olympic medals. Now see here, you might say, those are really extremes of success, and everybody can't expect these kinds of achievements. And that's true. And if you have less lofty definitions of success, I think that's great. But if your definition of success is to be at the top of your chosen profession, then I think you need to realize that that's going to take extreme effort and extreme sacrifice. It's not something just that you need to understand, but that your family needs to understand, that you go into this together knowing that you're willing to pay the price. I've seen a lot of people that feel that they want or even deserve to be at the top of their profession, but when it really boils right down to it, they're not willing to pay the price that it's going to take to be there. And an early understanding that, hey, that's not a price I want to pay, will do a lot toward making you feel more successful and a heck of a lot less frustrated. I guess what I'm trying to say is that each of you has to prioritize your values and determine various levels of success in various aspects of your life. And even though the career may be the most visible aspect of your life, achievement of relatively modest heights in that area might actually yield the overall greatest satisfaction in achieving your definition of success. Well, there you have it, my easy 6-ingredient formula for success. We have definition, knowing where you're going, flexibility, communication, understanding, self-confidence, and hard work. Obviously, there's a lot more than that can go into making a person successful or not. And I'll be the first to tell you that being in the right place at the right time and just plain old luck can often help you out a lot. But I think generally where you